Welcome to this week's episode of Up in the Air. I'm Joe Spear.
And I'm Kasey Rigner.
We have a wide range of stories for you today, coming from marine snow and even one about water birds.
And I've put together a feature about how climate change is causing summer high temperatures in cities to be warmer. Update in the Air starts right now. Been used until now need to be modified. They explain that winters are getting shorter and plants are turning green sooner. It was not clear about what this meant for plant growth in the summer and autumn and for the amount of CO2 used during photosynthesis. Researchers were able to investigate the global patterns of this effect using satellite data. They analyzed satellite images from the past 30 years, examining the entire globe north of the 30th parallel, from southern Europe and Japan to the most northerly tundra regions. Light is strongly absorbed in areas of high vegetation, and infrared radiation is strongly reflected. With this knowledge, they were able to determine how much photosynthesis occurs and how much carbon is taken up during photosynthesis across the globe on a point-by-point basis. The data showed that the northern hemisphere is in fact greener in the spring when temperatures are especially warm. This impact is reversed for the summer and fall, even leading to a reduction in carbon uptake as a result of the rise in temperature.
The ocean can get snowed on, but marine
New research shows that a big earthquake can not only cause other quakes, but larger ones and on the opposite side of the Earth. The findings posted in Nature Scientific Reports are an important step forward in improving short-term earthquake forecasting and risk assessment. Scientists at Oregon State University looked at 44 years of seismic data and found clear evidence that tremblers of magnitude 6.5 or larger trigger other quakes of magnitude 5 or larger. It's been thought that aftershocks and smaller earthquakes at greater distances were the main global effects of very large earthquakes. Studies from OSU provided noticeable evidence that in the 3 days following one large quake, other earthquakes were more likely to occur. Every test case in the study represented a single 3-day window injected with larger magnitude earthquakes suspected of inducing other quakes. Accompanying each case was a control group of 5,355 3-day periods that didn't have the quake injection. The higher the magnitude, the more likely a quake is to trigger another. As fault zones near the end of this seismic cycle, tipping points may be reached and triggering can occur.
April.
Our planet is constantly being bombarded by cosmic particles. At times, the streams of particles is particularly strong when a solar storm sweeps past. Solar storms are made up of high-energy particles unleashed from the sun by explosions on the star's surface. Researchers for the past 70 years have studied these solar storms by direct instrumental observations, which has led to an understanding of how they can pose a risk to electrical grid, various communication systems, satellites, and air traffic. The researchers behind the new international study have used drilled samples of ice or ice cores to find clues about previous solar storms. The cores come from Greenland and contain ice formed over the past 100,000 years. The material contains evidence for a very powerful solar storm that occurred in 660 BC. Researchers point out that even though massive solar storms are rare, the new discovery shows that they are a naturally occurring effect of solar activity. Researchers argue that there is a need for greater awareness of the possibility of very strong solar storms and the vulnerability of our society.
Welcome back to the show. We now go to a feature from our very own Kasey Rigner about how climate change is impacting high temperatures in cities.
A dash of climate change with a pinch of urban heat island effect, and you're in for a recipe for disaster. Climate change has caused summers around the world to be warmer than they once were, especially in large cities. With carbon pollution on the rise, it's just one bad ingredient after another. An urban heat island is a metropolitan is hot. It's apparent that we can help prevent the magnitude of climate change and even the urban heat island, considering we are one of the biggest factors. Maybe take a moment with yourself and brainstorm a few ways you can reduce your carbon footprint. You may think 1 out of 7.5 billion people won't change much, but if millions or even thousands think eco-friendlier, it could make a world of a difference. For Up in the Air, I'm Kasey Rigner. Welcome back to the show. Well, Joe, spring officially started on Wednesday, the 20th. which is a little different than meteorological spring, which is March, April, May, as opposed to, mid-March to mid-June. But last weekend, it was feeling more like the end of April here in State College with temperatures in the mid-60s, which was great.
Yeah, it certainly was nice to enjoy those warmer temperatures for the weekend. But this past week we had some lower temperatures down in the 40s, and we'll see over with Ryan at the climate wall if that trend's going to continue for the rest of spring or we might warm up soon.
Well, Joe, I've got some good news for you, but that's
Hear that? It'll be a nice weekend to enjoy coming up.
Right, you might want to head to the Arboretum or hang out in front of Old Main. I know I might. So I'm very much looking forward to the weekend with warmer temperatures and sunshine. Thank you so much for joining in with us this week. Make sure you catch us next weekend up in the air.